Think your fashion disasters are bad. Ancient Romans took style fails to a whole new level. From see-through togas to deadly jewelry, these wardrobe malfunctions literally made history. Let's laugh at some epic ancient fashion mistakes. Let's talk about the toga, the ancient equivalent of trying to wrap yourself in a bedsheet while running late for class. These weren't your simple throw-on-and-go outfits. Romans had to deal with up to 12 feet of fabric that needed perfect draping, or you'd end up looking like a badly wrapped mummy. Here's the fun part. Wealthy Romans actually hired special toga servants called vestiplici just to help them get dressed. And if you thought that was extra, wait until you hear about Emperor Caligula. He once showed up to a fancy dinner wearing a see-through silk toga, causing the ancient equivalent of a viral scandal. The poor senators had to pretend they weren't seeing their emperor basically naked at the dinner table. Talk about a fashion faux pas. Here's where things get really wild with Roman fashion politics. Imagine showing up to work wearing your pants a little too short. Awkward, right? Well, Romans had it way worse. Your toga's length was basically your social media status. Too short. Everyone thinks you're trying too hard. Too long? You're probably tripping over it like a rookie. And don't get me started on the colors. Wear the wrong shade of purple, and you could literally get executed. That's how serious they were about fashion rules. Senators had to rock a specific purple stripe on their togas, but if some regular Joe tried to copy that style, they'd face more than just mean comments. We're talking serious legal trouble. It's like getting arrested for wearing knockoff designer clothes, but way more intense. Let me tell you about the most extreme case of color copyright in history. Emperor Nero was so obsessed with purple that he made it illegal for anyone else to wear it. I'm talking straight-up death penalty for rocking the wrong shade. See, this wasn't just any purple. It came from rare sea snails, and it took thousands of them to make just 1 ounce of dye. The whole process stank worse than a gym locker room, but that's what made it special. Nero got so paranoid about people stealing his signature look that he had his guards patrolling the streets, literally checking people's outfits. Imagine getting the death penalty because you accidentally wore the wrong color. It's like getting executed for wearing the same outfit as your boss, but 1,000 times crazier. Let's talk about the biggest fashion scandal to hit ancient Rome, the see-through silk crisis. When silk first arrived from China, Romans went absolutely crazy for it. But there was just one tiny problem. These fancy silk togas were basically transparent. Imagine walking into the Senate wearing what's essentially fancy plastic wrap. Conservative Romans were losing their minds. One senator even stood up during a meeting and dramatically declared that silk was turning their men into walking scandals. The silk craze got so bad that the Senate had to pass actual laws against men wearing silk. They claimed it was draining the empire's gold reserves, but really they were just tired of seeing everyone's business during important political meetings. You think modern dress codes are strict? The Romans took fashion policing to a whole new level. They had actual laws. We're talking real, written-in-stone rules about who could wear what. Imagine getting fined for wearing jeans to work, but multiply that by 1,000. The Lex Oppia law banned women from wearing more than ½ an ounce of gold or multicolored dresses. Breaking these laws wasn't just a fashion faux pas. You could face fines, exile, or worse. And get this, they had actual fashion police patrolling the streets. These guys would carry measuring sticks to check the width of purple stripes on togas. It's like having the TSA for your clothes, except with way more drama and possibly some light stabbing. Let me tell you about the time Rome literally ran out of clean laundry, but way worse. Around 250 AD, a massive shortage of white wool hit the empire like a fashion apocalypse. White togas weren't just clothes, they were basically your ancient Roman ID card. Without one, you couldn't vote, attend official events, or even enter certain buildings. People started panic buying fabric, hoarding old togas, and some clever scammers began selling fake white fabric dyed to look pure. The streets filled with Romans wearing increasingly grey and yellowed togas, while others tried washing their old ones so much they practically dissolved. Rich people started bribing wool merchants, while regular folks had to choose between eating and dressing properly. It's like running out of business suits in Washington, D.C. Pure chaos. Let me introduce you to the ancient world's first fashion counterfeiters. These sneaky Romans would do anything to look like senators, including some seriously sketchy DIY purple stripes. They'd use cheap berry juice or even paint to fake that prestigious purple band on their togas. But here's the thing, these knockoff artists weren't exactly master criminals. The fake purple would often start running in the rain, leaving very embarrassed wannabes with purple streaks all down their white togas. The fashion police, yes, that was a real thing, had a field day catching these copycats. They'd actually sniff people's togas because authentic purple had a distinct fishy smell from those fancy snails. Getting caught meant more than just a slap on the wrist. We're talking jail time, fines, or even exile. Let's talk about Roman hairstyles, where big hair energy meant stacking your locks 3 feet high. Roman women were absolutely wild about their hairdos. They'd spend hours getting their hair curled, dyed, and piled up into these massive tower-style creations called tutulas. Some of these styles were so complicated they'd leave them in for weeks. Imagine sleeping with a tower of hair propped up on special curved pillows. And the dye jobs? They'd use everything from crushed beetles to bird poop to get that perfect shade. One popular style called the orbis superpositus was basically the ancient equivalent of wearing a beehive made of false hairpieces, wigs, and enough pins to set off modern metal detectors. Talk about a bad hair day. Let's talk about Roman bling, but with a deadly twist. These folks turned jewelry from fab to fatal faster than you can say fashion victim. Heavy metal necklaces would choke people during chariot rides, and those trendy rings with hidden compartments. Yeah, they weren't for keeping breath mints, they were for storing poison. One wealthy lady actually died when her massive earrings ripped right through her earlobes during a party. The weight of some head ornaments was so intense it caused chronic neck problems. And remember those fancy fibulae, ancient safety pins holding togas together. They'd regularly stab people when they got too excited at parties. It's like wearing a weapon collection disguised as accessories. Let me introduce you to the original fashion influencers, Roman emperors who had more power than sense. Take Emperor Elagabalus, who thought wearing wigs made of gold thread was totally practical. Spoiler alert, they were so heavy he kept face-planting during important ceremonies. Then there's Emperor Commodus, who dressed up as Hercules complete with a lion-skin cape, in the middle of summer, in Rome. He'd sweat so much during Senate meetings that everyone had to pretend not to notice the puddle forming around his throne. But my absolute favorite is Emperor Demetrius, who invented a hat so tall he couldn't fit through doorways. He made his servants cut holes in every palace ceiling just so he could strut around in his ridiculous headpiece. There you have it, proof that fashion disasters aren't just a modern thing. Thanks for joining this wild ride through ancient wardrobe malfunctions. Hit that like button, subscribe for more historical chaos, and share with your fashion-loving friends.